Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Match Day. I'm Vince Gansberg, and we have Ian Barker up. And today, by the way, I hope everyone on this presentation is safe and well. And today, we're just going to do the Monday Manager theme, which we're going to present some tactical quizzes. There'll be an interactive poll for those on the other end. So we'll launch a poll for each little quiz. No right or wrong answer, by the way. There are some better than others, obviously. But if you want this deck or if you want the PDF of this, please just email me, and I'm more than happy to share the deck with you. And then we're also going to just, at the end, just show an idea for kind of a return to play strategy in there. But again, the idea is that we're kind of getting back to normal, right? Nor in Indianapolis, where I live, it's phase 5. So thanks, boss, for being on. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
All right. Should we get going? How do we, is it showing up on your end?
I've got the whiteboard on right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you see the?
Let me turn the whiteboard off and then I'll turn it back on. So there's the deck. Okay. You can see that, right?
Yep, now, there we go.
The whiteboard comes on second. That's learning all the time with Webinar Jam.
There we go, Webinar Jam. All right, here we go. So I'm going to launch this poll, and then I'm also going to start the slide. So I'll just describe it. Hope everyone can see it. So basically, as you can see, the question is about the 6, right? So the 6 has a decision to make. She's out. The team in white, they're outnumbered. So you can see here, there's 3 blue players. Yep. Thanks, boss. So it's really a 3v2 in the middle, 4v2 if you include the other team's 9. So the dilemma is, does the 6 move up to the left for cover, move to the right to cover? I think C is drop and kind of protect the 2 center backs, and D is just to stay. So go ahead and if you want, I'm going to publish the poll, and let's see what people think. And then, Coach Barker, we'll get your expertise.
So we've got 10 attendees live. I'd like to see 10 votes if we can get them. Definitely like to see them.
Yeah.
So while people are considering answering the poll, you've activated it, right, Vince?
Yeah, I did.
So the blue team have got 1, 2, 3, 4 people pushed up, plus an overload in the midfield. So the blue team is going for it for sure.
Yeah, so they're pushing up. Yeah,
there's something going on here that we probably need to understand. But when I look at this, and I'm glad to see a few people are chiming in.
Good.
There's still people out there that can chime in. So Amin and Rob, you better have voted because you're saying hello to everybody, but we want the votes. So click on the poll. So of the 4 options, this option appeals to me because we're getting into a confrontation mode. Yeah. And if the number 8 can steer the play to the left,
yep,
you can make it a 2v2 and eliminate this player. Yes. So I have some sympathy personally with A. I'll very interested to hear what you have to say, Vince, because you created this.
Yeah.
Going over there is problematic for me, again, unless she can steer in. But the challenge now is not only do you have the option of maybe getting exposed, you've come out of the center. So I really don't like B. C is very conservative. And the idea we're dropping back to help defend the number 9, but it rather begs the question, what the heck is these two players doing if you need to drop in the number 6? So the final options stay in here. You're staying central, you're staying deep, yep, you're protecting your center backs, and then you're hoping like heck that your wide midfielders drop in to provide cover.
Yeah.
So I think in order for me, I would probably as a central defender, number 6 myself, I would go with D or A, and I don't care for B or C. That's me.
No, that's right. And we were before, we went live. This was a game situation. My last high school gig that I had, this was a situation that we encountered where we were just getting outnumbered like crazy. And so at halftime, we had to talk about it, right? And we had to move cones, and I had a little magnet board. And so basically our decision was, because we didn't have the personnel, was to simply drop another player in that midfield. So that wasn't one of your options, though. So that's kind of cheating on my part. But yeah, for me, D, staying, kind of reading the game, but telling the 8 to, hey, make a decision, either force right or force left, but try and make play more predictable. That was kind of I remember that was the message to the young lady. So
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it depends, right, on the time in the game. So let's say perhaps you've got to get the ball back. That will change the attitude of the 6. If you're holding on to the lead, then maybe you take another option. So good. I like that one. So hopefully people will find this online or get the deck from you.
Yep. All right. The next one is more geared for the 9v9 coaches and those that kind of coach the 9v9 game, right? So they're 11 and 12, starting to figure it out, space a little bit. By the way, that's a ginormous field for 9v9. So the situation is there's no pressure on the ball, right? So it looks like the back is getting ready to serve. So do the 3 center backs for the red, do they do nothing and stay and kind of like shape their body up, like turn their body a little bit? Do they drop 5 yards deeper, or do they step up 5 yards and see if they can catch them offside for whatever that's worth? But anyway, yeah. So by the way, Rick, really good. So yeah, I'm going to launch this poll for this one. And this one, it's relatively simpler. But if you have kids that they're 11 and 12 years old, they might not know these concepts, right? When to drop, when to step, when to hold. So this might be something that you can introduce to them. So the poll should be up, and you should be able to engage with it. Oh,
where is the ball coming from? Oh, sorry, Rob. So maybe you can see that orange arrow, Rob, at the top there. You can see the little blue player, and you can see the white ball off the foot.
Yep, there's the ball.
It really helps if you know where the ball is.
Sorry about that, Rob.
These are hypothetical enough without not having any like pictures. So
okay, so we've got drop 5 yards deeper. We got A, do nothing. And I got to say, even though I said at the beginning there was no right or wrong answer, I've got to say I'm glad no one said step up.
Well, but if you got an Arsenal fan, we've got one Arsenal fan, so that's good.
That's the full Monty, right?
So thank you all for responding. We appreciate it. So I'll run through it from my end, and then Vin can get there.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think there is. No. In the old days, when we used to have these on the old NSCA page, we propose one as the correct answer, which I think now is a little almost insulting, because there's so many variables and people have different playing and technical preferences. But from my perspective, the whole scenario here starts with this problem that this player has no pressure. And so consequently, we're not able to affect the first principle of defending. So he or she can dribble it, they can serve it long, they can pass it, they can do whatever. So there's the problem for me.
Yeah.
So obviously, the solution is to get this one to press, but that isn't painted in our scenario.
Right.
I also look very critically at what this player is doing. So do you have a sweeper keeper? Do you have a player that's comfortable as a goalkeeper being high? Because that could change things up as well. So the do nothing and stay, I think, could be an option if your goalkeeper is particularly adept at sweeping, keeping, and maybe staying up behind them. So I could see the do nothing and stay option. If I was playing at a fairly decent amateur level, my inclination would be to close this space up. So do B and drop, and then have a lot more space in front of me, which is difficult to defend, but I'm defending the primary. And then, finally, if these three were very well prepared by you and they understood the concept of the offside rule and could communicate in such a fashion that they would step just as the ball is knocked, then yeah, you can play an offside trap. You could, but I just think there's too much freedom for the guy in possession of the ball to trust that you could pull an offside trap. I think what you would find is you'd all be standing on the halfway line, and then they'd just be flooding runners in behind, and you'd never catch them. So I'm inclined to probably go with B.
Yep, I am too. And however, I threw in step up because I've seen coaches still to this day try that tactic, right? So if you're gonna do it, well, you better do it right, and you better teach them right when. Like Baresi would, like when he played for Milan, would just whistle, right, as a center back, and he'd hold his arms out, and that meant to step up. But I don't know if it's really to do an offside trap. It's more to, hey, let's get them to be offside, right? So there's a little difference, in my opinion. But yeah, the key is no pressure on the ball. Can they read? Can you get your players to read that there's really little to no pressure, if at all? And that player definitely looks like they're getting ready to serve that ball long. So now we drop. Okay, next one.
Okay,
I'm gonna start this. You take this one.
Yeah, let me go through it because this comes from the messed up mind of Ian. So I apologize to Vince.
Great.
from the offset. But what I'm interested in is two players over the ball taking the free kick. So the scenario is two players taking the free kick. As they do that, this right fullback, who was a ghost player, has now overlapped into this position. And in doing so, they've pulled a defender out. So this space is vacated. So I'll just go through it one more time. I've got two players over the ball, 1, 2. I've got a player who was here, but has overlapped. I've got a player who was here, but has got pulled out to defend the overlap. So that's the scenario. As soon as this space is vacated, do you push the ball through it for your guy to run onto? Do you serve it behind the wall, basically on the ground? So that's option 2. Do you float it over the wall, so it's coming in from more of an aerial? That's number 3. Or do you cut it back to your player on top of the box who's running on fairly unchallenged? So those are your 4 options.
Okay, and I published the poll, so let's see what people are saying.
So we have 2, I think, because we went from 100%. There we go. So we got that's probably 3.
Yep.
It's so helpful when there's only 11 or 12 people because you can really just judge the mood in the camp.
Yep. No, it's good. And I think a lot of times, we don't address set pieces thoroughly enough. We had Ryan Needs on early on in the match day series, and he talked about set pieces. But yeah, we know that they are a vital part of the game, a very important part of the game. And love having the 2 players on the ball and then the distraction, right, of that player overlapping, because now it really makes that wall shift and move.
So I will give away a secret from my college coaching career. We didn't do a ton on set plays because it's difficult in the college environment. I say difficult, it's not the funnest thing. But I was a massive proponent of the overlap on a free kick like this, and sometimes a second overlap, because you go the first overlap, you might not get the defender to pull. If you double overlap, you either one of 2 things happen. So if you double overlap, if this is the first guy and the defender doesn't come, you get it. If he does come, you drive across, and then you get the second guy in. So I love the double overlap in this situation, but we didn't show that. So let me just give a shout out. If I go in sort of just I love this option. If you've got Paul Scholes who can knock one, maybe Pulisic. I don't know who can hit that ball. Maybe
Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Rosalind Roosevelt can smack it, but it's got to be coming from her left foot.
Yeah, there's just a ton of traffic in there, and it probably tees up more for a left-footed player, I would argue.
Yeah.
And I just think it's too low a percentage relative to your other options. So I'm not sure about 4.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good comments, by the way. Rick is, said that he loves the driven low bent ball, right, to get the defenders facing the goal. He
likes the 2. Yeah. Number 3.
Yeah.
If this is Peter Crouch, Abby Wambach, Brian McBride, Andy Carroll, when his knees are working, maybe there might be something in there for a powerful header. But I think it's, again, much like number 4, you're diminishing the chances relative to the first 2 options.
Yeah.
So now you've got 1 and 2. If I've got Kevin De Bruyne serving the ball, then I'm certainly hitting the number 2, because you can whip it in behind them, maybe hit the penalty spot, and then it's a great ball for these guys to crash into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sounds like Rick is also saying you've now got red defenders running back towards their goal, so all kinds of mayhem can be played.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably play that option the majority of times, maybe a couple of times. But if I got a third time, then I'd play this one, because the reaction of these 2 is going to be critical, and they might have a chance to recover in there or pick off your runner. But if you get these guys, maybe they're jumping or they're wincing because they're going to get hit in the head or the face with the ball, maybe you can slide that guy through, and that's pretty much a free path to goal. So for me, it's 2 a couple of times, and then it's 1. That would be my thought.
Yeah, no, it's great. So the poll, we had 62% that chose number 1. I mean, I love it. If this player bites, right? If this player bites to that overlapping run, then 2 for me, 1 for me, I apologize, makes a lot of sense. So, but your point about maybe you do 1 long, 2 long, and then you play the short little ball in. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So, okay. Well, let's, do you want to move on to the activity?
Yeah, let's do that. So it's fun to look at.
By the way, if any of you want this deck, I'm going to put my email in the chat box. So feel free to email me, and I'm more than happy to share both of the decks that we're going to show today. So, so just to keep in mind that what I put together this morning, I've been thinking about a lot, because here where I live in Indiana, we're starting to return to play a little, I think, personally, I think too early. But, the governor's allowing youth sports to happen. And I know, like in Georgia, I think Samantha Snow also alluded to last week that they're doing as well. But I still think we got to be really cognizant and, considerate when we put those kids back out there. So this next little thing is, okay, now they've been sitting around, even though you've been trying to keep them, motivated through Zooms and, hey, do this on your own, do these fitness things on your own. The reality of it is when they get back, we got to consider that we just can't shock them. And we have to physically prepare them to kind of get back. It's almost like a preseason again. So what I put together this morning is, and Coach Parker and I, we can talk about it. So you've got 4 fields. And let me see if I can use the whiteboard, because it might help.
Got it?
Go ahead.
You're up. So the whiteboard's there.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we've got 4 fields. The first field is, by the way, they're all 3v3. So you can get, that's 26 players. My math's right. No. Yeah. No. 24 players.
You got goalies.
Oh, I forgot. Goalkeepers are people too. Sorry. But yes, we have 26 players. So field 1 is a 3v3 game. And the idea is that, obviously the space, we're going to play 3-minute games. So short and sweet. You can go 4 minutes if you feel like, but that the quality is going to go down. I'm telling you, from 3 to 4 minutes is really going to drop. So 3v3, and basically the number of passes is a point, but only if they score a goal. So if they get 7 passes and then score, then that game they get 8 points. If they get 3 passes so the idea is that they're encouraging passing. So now we're going to work a little bit on technical speed, action speed, mental speed, right? So we're going to develop that. We're also going to develop a little bit of energy systems because the space is a little smaller. So a little bit of alactic, anaerobic, and progress along. And then game 2, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's up on the top, and it's just real simple. It's a 3v3 game with goalkeepers, and and the space is 36 long by about 50 wide. You can go 40 if you wanted to. The idea is that we put the goals off to the side, anchored, of course, and every time the ball goes on the end lines, the ball is restarted by the goalkeeper, right? So it's every time the ball restarted by the keeper, and then that's game 2. Game 3, it's 2v2, so it's a tight space. And I didn't put the space in there, and I should have. That's my fault. So, but the substitutes have to juggle, and I put 50 times, but if it's 15 times, that's fine. If it's juggle your age, that's fine, right, for little kids. But once they do, then they can sub in for someone, right? And then game 4, and here's where it got cut off a little bit. So the goals are offset. So there's a goal here to the left, and there's a goal on the right-hand side of the top near midfield. So the goals are offset. So it's just a normal game, no restrictions or anything. But the only thing is that if, for example, if the blue team scores, so if the blue team were to score in this goal, they could then tell the red team that they have to move the goal here to the middle. So it's almost like they get rewarded for scoring in that little tight space. And now it's going to be harder for you on the red team. So there's a little gamification going on in the middle. And so you play 3-4 minute games, but here's what I mean. We can't shot teams are all on the inners or the inside, and the blue teams are on the outside. So the rotation could really simply, so they play different teams, is that the Reds rotate counterclockwise. So let me see if I can clear the board here. So the Reds would go this way, right? And then there. And then the Blues would go clockwise. And they would just go that way. So the idea is that round 1, so after round 1, they just walk, right? Just walk to the next field. They've just played 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Now you walk. Round 2, now it's a jog. So it's like me on my treadmill when I do my 4.5 jog, when I listen to the Peloton app person. And then, so it's like an RPE, it's like a 4, right? For me, or 3 or 4. And so then round 3, now they run, right? So now it's a run, and now they're getting ready to play right away. And as a coach, even though I'm not a big proponent of whistles, I think it's okay. Sometimes you just blow the whistle and they get going, right? So just an idea to think about, even though they're not, 6 feet apart, they're not, but I'm assuming here that everybody's been given the clearance, right, to go and start doing sports, as normal. But yet, we still got to, for example, wipe down the ball and all those things. We got to be, have hand sanitizers ready and all that, all those protocols that the CDC and Aspen Institute have been sharing with everybody. So we need to have those ready to go. But it's just an idea. And Ian, we were talking, not everyone has a full field.
Yeah.
So
what I was thinking is if you go back with your own squad of 14, let's say you get about 14, you set up the 4 stations.
Yeah.
Obviously, you only have 2 going at one time, but then maybe as a gift to the kids at the end, they can choose the favorite game format. So it's a 1-team event, or you go back as an age group or with another team, possibly the girls U14s and the boys U14s. So what a great invitation back, or what a great way back. The other things I like about it, there's some gamification in there. There's some variety of scoring mechanisms and technical pieces. But a number of years ago, we met Tony Strudwick, who was the conditioning coach of essentially for Man United. And what he said was, back in the day when the players would come back for preseason, which is essentially what this will be for you, they would make them run and do testing, and they'd beat them down and then would be surprised when they weren't ready to play soccer. So what they did at Man United under Tony Strudwick, who was working with Sir Alex, was the very first things they started doing was just playing 8v8 possession. So what a beautiful way to get your players back to the love of the game and some repetition of soccer movement before you start worrying about conditions. So for me, this is a perfect return to training, as opposed to, okay, let's see how many of you have been running while you've been home for the last 10 weeks, which would make no sense.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when someone shows up for the Marines, I mean, the first thing they don't do is say, okay, put a 50-pound rucksack on you and run in the sand. I mean, they literally methodically train them. And one of the things is they work on their techniques, right? And these are the toughest people in the world, these Navy SEALs. But no, I appreciate everybody on the end. I hope this was somewhat informative. I guess for me, I'm glad we were able to do this today, because we've really had a turbulent weekend all over. And, you know, we've got a heart condition problem in America right now, and, you know, in my opinion. And so it's nice to just talk soccer again, is my point, you know, and
Yeah.
just kind of escape a little bit and talk about the game. But
And for the 12 of you that are on, we have Sarah Strickland this afternoon. Vince, what's Sarah presenting on?
she's going to talk about building relationships and goal setting through COVID. So really wonderful stuff. So really excited.
Then tomorrow, another soccer one at 3 o'clock with Vince and I. At 11 o'clock, Anna, who's a 14-year-old girl who runs her own soccer podcast and is one of the best podcasts I've been on. Ian Donnelly on Thursday with match analysis, and Jay Enlick on all things coaching, legendary coach of college athletes. Ron Quinn and Sam Snow on Friday talking about the National Youth Diploma, formerly the National Youth License, formerly the National Youth Coaching Certificate. And then on Friday, we have Ian Mulliner on in a straitjacket. So we've got a pretty good week. I don't know if Vince is on mute. Maybe Vince went mute.
I did. Sorry, my dogs were barking because it's lunchtime, right? So we get round one. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Thanks, boss, for helping. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.